we are discussing RTD, thermistor, LVDT, strain gauge and load cell. These are the topics that we are going to discuss today in detail. So what is RTD? RTD means resistance temperature detector. So in the previous class we discussed thermocouple. Thermocouple is used to measure temperature, but the range of temperature is very high, and also suppose we need precise reading, thermocouple is not sufficient. So we went for another temperature measuring instrument, that is what is called RTD. RTD, the working is RTD is working on the principle of positive temperature coefficient. Positive temperature coefficient means when temperature increases, resistance increases. That is a physical phenomena. That principle is utilized in the RTD working. So, as you know that when in conductors, when temperature is increased, the resistance will be increasing. Resistance increasing means we converted a physical parameter, that is temperature, into an electrical parameter. Resistance is an electrical parameter. We converted the physical parameter into electrical parameters. So material used for construction of RTDs, platinum is the most popular material because platinum shows linear relationship between temperature and resistance. Suppose there is a 1 degree rise in temperature, proportionately 1 ohm resistance increase. If it is 2 degree, 2 ohms. That is what is called. It is straight line. So that is why we are using platinum. Then nickel and copper also we are using for making RTDs, but it is not the response characteristics curve is not linear, even though we are using nickel and copper. So this is the figure of an RTD. You look into that in detail. So here you can see, here we are placing the sensor. Sensing element will be here. Then this is the protecting tube. Then this is for fitting. This is the connecting head of the RTD. Through this opening, lead wire is going to read out. Read out means display. This is the structure of a RTD. So in a plant, RTD is used. This is an RTD readout. RTD readout. Please note the point. RTD readout, digital display. So we discussed that resistance of the conductor increases when the temperature increases. So based on that, this is the relation between resistance and temperature. RT is, this is the temperature. RT is equal to R0 into 1 plus alpha T, where R0 is the resistance of the RTD at 0 degree centigrade. Alpha is the temperature coefficient of resistance. Alpha varies from metal to metal. That is how much degree change for how much change in resistance per degree change in temperature. Then for PT100, platinum 100, R0, that means at 0 degree it shows 100 ohm. Alpha of platinum is 0.00391 ohms per degree centigrade. 0.00391 ohms per centigrade. This is the equation for RTD. So I'll give you one exercise. A platinum RTD PT100 measures 100 ohm at 0 degree centigrade and 139.1 ohm at 100 degree centigrade. This is the problem. A platinum RTD PT100 measures 100 ohm at 0 degree centigrade and 139.1 ohm at 100 degree centigrade. So you have to find the resistance of the RTD at 50 degree centigrade. That is your first task. Please try to do. Please try to do. You don't have to say the answer. Please try to do. What is the equation? R50. RT means here T is equal to 50 degree. R50 is equal to R0 into R0. What is R0? 100 into 1 plus alpha. What is alpha? 0.00391 into T is equal to 50. So that is I will show you. This is R50 is equal to R0 into 1 plus alpha T, that is 100. R0 means the resistance at 0 degree. So here we are using platinum. Therefore, the resistance is 100 ohm at 0 degree centigrade. 1 plus, this is alpha of platinum, 0.00391. This is the rise in temperature. That is 50 degree. In the problem, it is specifically given. So, resistance at 50 degree is 11.55 ohm. Resistance at 50 degree is 119.55 ohms. Then, what is our next point? Calculate the TCR, temperature coefficient of resistance for platinum. That is TCR of platinum. TCR of platinum. That is TCR means alpha. You have to find out the alpha. So, in order to find out alpha at this, initially we have an equation 139.1, that is equal to RT at 100 degree centigrade. Resistance is 139.1 and at 0 degree centigrade resistance is 100 ohm. Based on that, this is the equation. At 100 degree centigrade resistance is R100 is equal to R0 into 1 plus alpha T. T means 0 and 100, that is the rise in temperature. So what will be the alpha? From this we can see that this 100 can be taken into left side. So here it is multiplying. So suppose this 100 go to left side. Here LHS become 1.391. 1.391. So now the rest is here is 1 plus alpha 100. This alpha, it is here plus, that I am going to taking to left side. So it will become 1.391 minus 1, that is equal to 0.391. Then I want to find alpha. Alpha is equal to alpha into 100. This 100 has to be taken to left side. Then it will become 100. Here it is multiplying. Suppose it is going to left side, it will become division. So it will become 0.00391. Alpha is equal to 0.00391. Then next one is calculate the temperature when the resistance is 110 ohm. 110 ohm. So here calculate the here RT is equal to 110. I want to find temperature. RT is equal to 110 ohm. Now the resistance is 110 ohm. Initial resistance at 0 degree centigrade is 100 degree. 1 plus alpha given 0.00391. I want to find the temperature. At what temperature the resistance will be 110. So I am substituting. Try to solve the problem. So here it is. I am taking this 100 to left side. So it become 1.1. So I am taking this 1 to left side, right side. Then 0.00391 T is equal to 0.1. then T is equal to 0.1 divided by this, that is 25.575 degree centigrade. This is a simple problem, but in order to understand the working principle, it is very essential. Then, main features of RTD. Main features of RTD. RTD is a passive device. RTD is a passive device, not an active device. Passive device means which needs a external power supply. Passive device requires an external power supply to generate voltage drop across the sensor. Then that is one of the feature, that is RTD is a passive device. Then second one, lead wires. In previously you see what is lead wire. Lead wire is the wire that we are using for connecting RTD and readout device. RTD may be in the plant, readout device may be in the control room. So there is a distance between the control room and the plant. So it has to be connected, wired connection is required. That wire is known as lead wire. Nowadays, instead of lead wire, we are using transmitters. That is the advanced form. But the term I only explained what is lead wire. Lead wire is the wire that is connecting RTD with the display. So, if lead wire is a metal, then it has also resistance. So, if we are not compensating that resistance, we may get error reading. So, for that purpose, we are using 2-wire, 3-wire and 4-wire RTDs that I will explain. So, temperature range of RTD, that is minus 200 degree centigrade to 650 to 70 degree. This is the temperature range, very small span compared to thermocouple. It has a large range. Then most suitable material for accurate temperature measurement is platinum. So because I explained, it shows a linear characteristics. So in order to compensate the lead wire error, we suppose sometime we may use 3-wire RTD or 4-wire RTD. You see, this is 2-wire RTD, only 2 wires. If the lead length is very short, we can use 2-wire RTD. There is no need of any compensation because the distance is very small between the RTD and the readout devices. Then the lead wire resistance will not create problems. In that case, we can go for 2-wire RTD. Then this is the 3-wire RTD. This one wire is for compensation. The most common type of RTD assembly is 3-wire. Then this is 4-wire. The detailed discussion is beyond the scope, or it will take more time. That's why I'm explaining what is a 3-wire and 4-wire RTDs. Then if we require more accurate result, then we should go for 4-wire RTD. In this, all the lead wire error will be corrected or compensated. So we will get exact reading. So why we are going for RTD? Because it has a linear characteristics, stability, then repeatability, accuracy. Accuracy means shuddhata. Stability, sthayi. So that is why we are going for platinum types of RTD. So this is RTD. This is a basic type of RTD. Here you can see that this is a glass rod. These platinum wires are wound around the glass rod, and this wire that is connecting wire between the RTD sensor and the readout devices. we call it as lead wire. We call it as lead wire. So this is the, now we are discussing types of RTD. First one is RTD element, that's basic type of RTD. Second one is RTD probe. So you can see that it is a probe element which is protected. So the RTD is protected against environmental effects by means of special type of metallic tube, popularly known as sheet. So we are protecting the RTD with a sheet. So RTD probe, in the case of RTD probe also includes lead wires. You can see this is the lead wire. You can see this is the lead. This part, this fixed part is the probe, and after that you can see the lead wire. It is more rigid and strong. RTD probe is a strong device. Then another type of RTD, that is thin film RTD. Thin film RTD. So before the explaining this point, I will show you the picture. This is thin film RTD. You can see here is the base, this ceramic base. This is the resistance pattern. This is the RTD element lead wires. So this is a thin film RTD. So in the case of thin film, a layer of base metal embedded into a ceramic substrate. So a layer of base metal means here base metal is platinum or whatever it may be, it is embedded into a ceramic substrate. You can see this is the ceramic substrate. We are embedding a base metal into ceramic substrate and trimmed to produce desired. So in order to get desired value, we are trimming. In the metal film resistor case also we are trimming in order to get the exact value. Likewise here also we are trimming the base metal to get the exact value. These RTDs, film of platinum on a substrate and then followed by anchor. So this RTD, this base metal and the substrate, both are encapsulated. In order to give rigidity. This metal happen to small size and offer fast and accurate response. Thin film RTD offers fast and accurate response. So this is the pictorial representation of a thin film RTD. Advantages. RTD, I already explained. We can go very fastly, very accurate reading. Then also stability and repeatability. Stable, Shuddha reading, repeated, punaravartits. Repeatability means punaravartits. And RTD provide immunization against electrical noise. If any noise comes, RTD withstands. That is why it can be used in industrial environments around motors, generators, and other high voltage equipment. Because RTDs are immune to electrical noises. That is why you can use RTD around motors, generators, and other high voltage equipment. And RTD can be recalibrated very easily. Then disadvantages of RTD. Overall temperature range is, compared to thermocouple and everything, the temperature range is very small. Then cost of RTD is very high. We cannot use RTD in high vibration environment because it may be rupture. So these three are the disadvantages. Application of RTD. We are using application in air conditioning and refrigeration, servicing, food processing, stoves and grills, textile production, everywhere. If we want to measure temperature precisely, we will go for RTD, petrochemical processing, microelectronics, everywhere. In these all places we are using RTD. So next one, potentiometer. Potentiometer is a passive device. It is used for voltage division. Potentiometer we are using for voltage division. So I will. You are all familiar with potentiometer. I will reduce. Just I will show you the picture from that itself. You can understand what is potentiometer. Potentiometer is a passive transducer. Here you can see the picture. Direction of rotation, direction of linear motion, string cable, coil spring, potentiometer terminals, resistive strip, wiper, everything is there. This is potentiometer in a circuit. You can see that this is I am connected to external voltage source because it is passive. Then this is sliding contacts, resistance element. So linear potentiometer. This is a linear potentiometer. So potentiometer output, slider is there, slider is moving. So suppose we want to convert this displacement into an output. So this is rotary potentiometer, rotary potentiometer. So I will show you, you can see the reading changing. So now you are getting 50 volt here. When it is come down, the voltage is 0. You see once more. Now the voltage is not down this, voltage is 50 here, this point. The next one is thermistors. Thermistors mainly used for a temperature sensor. Thermistor is a temperature sensor. In order to find inrush current, it will act as a current limiter, inrush current, spike limiter. It will be, thermistor will self-resetting. So thermistors are made from semiconductor materials. Thermistors are made from semiconductor material, different types and shapes it is available. This is a rod thermistor. This is bead thermistor. You can see this is bead thermistor. This is disc thermistor. So you can see the symbol of a thermistor. Here it is shown -T. That means it is the symbol of a NTC, negative temperature coefficient. I will explain that point. NTC thermistor. NTC and PTC. Briefly I will explain. NTC means if temperature is increasing, correspondingly resistance is decreasing. That is what is called NTC. Here PTC means if temperature is increasing, resistance is increasing. So thermistors, thermally sensitive resistors, prime function is to change in electrical resistance when subjected to corresponding change in body temperature. So body temperature, temperature is converted into, temperature change is converted into resistance change. In the case of thermistor, thermistors are two types, NTC and PTC. In NTC, if temperature is increased, resistance is decreasing. In PTC, if temperature is increased, resistance is increasing. So you can see a thermistor working. When heat is given, it will become resistance becomes 0. NTC thermistor. So this is a hair dryer. Current is flowing, and current will be only reach here. When the hair dryer passes hot air, this resistance of this thermistor will be reducing. Then definitely current will be flowing through this resistor. This is a animation of a thermistor. Symbol PTC and NTC. In the case of PTC, you can note that this is plus. In the case of NTC, it is minus. So you can see that if temperature is increasing, resistance is decreasing. Temperature is increasing, resistance is decreasing. You can note that If temperature is increasing, resistance is decreasing. Here, this is the characteristics curve of a PTC. Here, temperature is increasing, resistance is increasing. Temperature is increasing, resistance is increasing. For NTC manufacturing, we are using cobalt, nickel, iron, and copper oxides. So please don't raise hands. Finally, I will get time. I will explain. You please chat me. I will respond. Please don't raise hands because my flow will be getting used. So NTC thermistors are manufactured with the cobalt, nickel, iron, and copper oxide. PTC in the composition is barium, lead, and strontium titanates with additives such as yttrium, manganese, and tantalum and silica. These are the materials used for NTC and PTC. So comparison between NTC and PTC, the material already we have discussed. Then in the case of application level, NTC is used for temperature compensating. That means most metal, in the case of most metals, if temperature is increasing, resistance is increasing. If temperature is increasing, resistance is increasing. So that will create problem. In order to nullify that increase in temperature, increase in resistance, we can use NTC because NTC shows only in the when temperature is increasing, resistance is decreasing. NTC is used for temperature compensation. PTC we can use for temperature measurement and control and temperature detection and regulation, and also it can be used as a thermal switch also. PTC can be used as a thermal switch. So this what is NTC and PTC I explained in detail, so I will go. Application of thermistors. To monitor coolant temperature and oil temperature inside an engine, coolant temperature and oil temperature. To monitor temperature of an incubator. So I will show you some figures. I am having some hatchery. Thermistors are used in modern digital thermostat. Temperature battery packs while charging. In order to measure the temperature of the battery packs while charging. So these are the application of thermistors. Then to monitor temperature of hot ends of 3D printers. In that case, we are using thermistors. Correct temperature in the food handling and processing industry equipments. Control the operation of consumer appliances such as toasters, coffee makers, refrigerators, freezers, hair dryers, etc. These are all the application of thermistors. Application of this is hatchery. I told you that in order to keep the temperature, incubator temperature has to be maintained. This is modern digital thermostat. Modern digital thermostat. So operating range of thermistor is only minus 55 to 150 degrees centigrade. So some special type of thermistors are available up to the range of 300 degree centigrade. Up to the by using some glass body thermistors having maximum operating temperature range of 300 degree centigrade. So our next topic is strain gauge. What is a strain gauge? So you know we know that metal, if subjected to a tension or compression, its length will be varying. Its length will be varying. If the length is increases, we know that the resistance is equal to rho into L by A. If length is increasing, resistance is increasing. If length is decreasing, resistance is decreasing. So we want to measure that property is used in the case of strain gauge. Some materials resistance changes when strain is applied to them. When they are stretched, this change in resistance can be measured easily. So in order to apply a strain, we need force. So that force is directly proportional to the change in resistance, or the change in resistance is directly proportional to the applied force. So the device whose resistance changes due to applied strain or applied force are called strain gauges. Please note that the device whose resistance is changing due to applied strain or applied force are called strain gauges. This is the picture of a strain gauge. This is shape of a strain gauge. You can see end loops, grids are there, alignment, end loops are there, final point, shoulder here, this is the shoulder tip. This is the active length of the strain gauge. This is the active length of the strain gauge. This is the backing and encapsulating. So here construction I am going to discuss backing. In this we are bonding the foils. So this is we are applying. When we are applying a tension, you see the length will be increasing. When you are applying a compression, length is decreasing. Laterally, gauge is insensitive. For lateral, it is insensitive. If you are applying tension, length is increasing means resistance is increasing. If you are applying compression, length is decreasing means resistance is decreasing. So what we want is, we want to measure force. We want to convert force into electrical parameter. For that purpose, we are using strain gauge. So here strain is given. This is epsilon is the strain. Suppose we apply a tension, wire length will be increasing. The increased length is L2. L1 is the initial length. Initially it was L1, and after applying tension, its length is now L2. So L2 minus L1 is the changing length. Change in length. Changing length divided by original length. That is what is called strain. Epsilon is equal to L2 minus L1 divided by L1. So length of the stretched wire resistance also increases. When we are applying a tension, its resistance is increasing. So that also consider in order to find the gauge factor. So that will be the change in resistance of the conductor can be measured easily and calibrated against the applied force. The strain gauge can be used to measure force and related parameter like displacement and stress. Input and output relationship of strain gauge can be expressed by the term gauge factor. Input and output relationship can be measured with the help of expressed by with the help of gauge factor. So first you have to understand what is strain. Strain is epsilon is equal to L2 minus L1 divided by L1. So in the case of if length is increased, resistance also increased. So this increase in change in resistance, delta R means change in resistance, Rg means original resistance, delta R divided by Rg original resistance divided by epsilon. Epsilon is what? Epsilon is equal to changing length divided by original length, or we can say that delta L, changing length is delta L divided by L. So this is the gauge factor of a strain gauge. Gauge factor of a strain gauge. The output and input relationship of a strain gauge expressed by gauge factor. What is gauge factor? Gauge factor is equal to delta R divided by R all divided by strain. Strain is equal to delta L divided by L. What is delta L? Delta L is increasing length. Strain gauge materials that is used for making strain gauge: constant and nichrome, platinum alloys, some foils, semiconductor materials. the most popular alloy employed for strain gauge are copper nickel alloys, and nickel chromium alloys. So most popular alloys employed for strain gauge. And then next is different types of semiconductors are available. So first one is semiconductor strain gauge. So in this semiconductor strain gauge, semiconductor bonded strain gauge is a wafer with the resistance element diffused into a substrate of silicon. I will show you the picture. This is the resistance element. This is diffused in the base. Semiconductor material is diffused in the base. You can see the semiconductor material, and this is the base. We are diffusing the semiconductor material in the base, substrate of silicon. Now backing is provided for wafer element and bonding to the strain surface. Extra care, since only a thin layer of epoxy. Epoxy means glue is used to attach. We are using glue to attach the the strain gauge to base. Size of semiconductor strain gauge is very small and cost much lower than the metallic foil sensor. Advantage means gauge factor is very high in the case of semiconductor strain gauge. It is nearly around 130. Disadvantage, that means we will get better reading. Disadvantage, greater sensitivity to temperature variation. If temperature is varied, this semiconductor strain gauge may give false reading. So that is the disadvantage. This is the figure of a semiconductor strain gauge. And then next one is thin film strain gauge. In this, we are using wires for making strain gauge. In thin film strain gauge, we are using foils. So this is an advanced type of advantage of thin film strain gauge. During the manufacturing, the strain gauge becomes molecularly bonded to the sensor substrate material. So there is no need of any epoxy. Without the need of any organic epoxy, it is molecularly bonded. So which can expand and contract temperature or humidity changes. The lack of organic, so this epoxy layer, suppose we are using in order to bond the foils to the base, this epoxy layer also having some variations that will cause some problems. Lack of organic layer in thin film strain gauge result in a range of advantages when compared to bonded foil strain gauge, such as lower temperature coefficient, less creep, less hysteresis, and overall better accuracy. You will get better accuracy if you go for thin film strain gauge. So since the thin film strain gauge is molecularly bonded, this is the point, molecularly bonded to the specimen, the installation is very stable and resistance value experience less drift. The installation is very stable. That is the main advantages of thin film strain gauges. Uses of strain gauge. What is the use of a strain gauge? Measurement of strain. Whenever any material is subjected to high loads, they come under strain, which can be measured easily with the strain gauge. So high load is applied and we want to measure it, we can use strain gauge. Carry out stress analysis of the material. For stress analysis in experiment R&D also we are using strain gauge widely for the stress analysis of mechanical material. Measurement of other quantities, principle of change in resistance due to applied force. So by applying a force, resistance is changing. Definitely it can be used for measurement of pressure, displacement, acceleration, etc. So strain gauge can be used, can sense displacement as small as 5 micrometer. They are usually connected to mechanical transducers like bellows for measuring pressure and displacement and other quantities. These are all the wide use are there. Then application of strain gauge continues in mechanical engineering, research and development. Measure the stress generated by the machinery. How much stress is generated by the machinery? Suppose it should be in R&D, it should be detailed analysis is required. In that area, we are using strain gauge. Aircraft component testing. Aircraft component testing. There also we are using strain gauge. Everywhere we are using strain. So this is a wire type strain gauge. This is a coil type strain gauge. So this is a just but only a resistance bits. You can see that if R1 by R3 is equal to R2 by this is strain gauge Rx, this potential and this potential are same, though there is no voltage. There is no voltage. So now I am connecting a strain gauge here. If I am putting a force on the strain gauge, definitely its resistance changes. That resistance changes directly, I can measure here. So force is directly converted into voltage. The next one is load cell. Load cell is a force transducer. Load cell is a force transducer, converting kinetic energy of force such as tension, compression, pressure, torque into measurable electrical. Suppose I want to convert compression, pressure, torque into measurable electrical signal. Strain gauge is only one item. So load cell, in the case of load cell, we are using a group of strain gauge. The length of singular change is in proportion to the force applied. So definitely I explained in detail that if you are applying a force on a strain gauge or on a load cell, its length is changing. Length change means resistance change. There are three basic load cell based on output. If the output is hydraulic, pneumatic and strain gauge. Hydraulic, pneumatic and strain gauge load cells are available. So the most common used type of load cell is industrial application is strain gauge load cell. Strain gauge load cell. Accurate and cost effective. Strain gauge load cell is accurate and cost effective. You can see that I want to measure the in weighbridge we are using load cells. Truck with load is directly going to the weighing bridge. From there we are getting the weight of the truck. So the principle use this the machinery equipment use this load cell. T means tension, C means compression. You can I am applying a force here. Based on that force, tension and compression comes. Here tension comes, here compression comes, here compression comes and tension. So I will show you the method how to calculate the voltage. You see, in Wheatstone bridge, if coming to load cell, we are replacing all the resistors with load strain gauges. So now I am replacing all the resistors with the strain gauges. So what will be this output here? What will be the output? This is R1, this is R2, this is R4, this is R3. What is the output here? VI is equal to, in terms of VEX and then R1, R2. You can see that R3 by R4, R2 by R1, R3 by, so what is the current flowing through this point? What is the voltage at this point is equal to R2 divided by R1 plus R2 into VEX. What is the voltage here? Here VEX is equal to R3 divided by R3 plus R4 into VEX. This point R3 divided by R3 plus R4 into VEX. You can see R3 divided by R3 plus R4. So output voltage is equal to difference between the two, that is R3 divided by R3 plus R4 minus R2 divided by R1 plus R2 into input voltage, that is this is the output voltage in load cell. So when you are applying a force, definitely resistance is changing. That change in resistance, accordingly the voltage is changing. I will show you here. figure. Resistor in bridges is replaced by strain gauge alternating tension and compression measurement. Force is applied, resistance is strain gauge is VO is measured. Okay, that I explained. You can see all are changing. These four are strain gauges: R1, R2, R3, R4. You can see at one point it becomes zero. You note that at one point the voltage is zero. You can notice that point. So in order to measure large force, we can use strain gauge. Also, you can notice this point also, this change in length. You can notice this changing length. What is happening here? Measuring strain gauge output. Measuring strain gauge output. Then next is LVDT. It's a basic transducer. It is highly used in instrumentation. The purpose is to measure the displacement. Measure the displacement. So this is the structure. This is a cylindrical former. Here this is the cylindrical former. We are putting, this is primary winding we are putting. These two are secondary winding. You can see this is primary and these two are secondary. In series opposition, secondary is connecting in series opposition. If the core is, this is motion, the core is moving up and down. If the core is at the exact center, these two voltages are equal, then difference between the two voltages will be zero. If the core is moving towards right, here more flux will come. So you will get a positive output. If the rod is moving extreme left, here more flux link, second mutual induction, so you will get a negative output. So LVDT is a cylinder, consists of a cylindrical former, that is I explained cylindrical former, where it is surrounded by one primary winding in the center of the former and two secondary winding at the sides. Number of turns in both secondary windings are equal, but they are connected in series opposition. That is why we are getting clockwise. Net output voltage will be the difference between the voltages. Net output voltage will be the difference between the voltages. Two secondary coils represented S1 and S2. Iron core is placed in the center of the cylindrical former, which can move in to and fro motion as shown in the figure. So you can see that this can move. I will show you one video working of LVDT. This is the working of LVDT. If the core is at the center, output will be zero. If it is right, output will be negative. If it is left, output will be positive. So displacement is converted into voltage. Working of LVDT. Advantage of infinite resolution is present in LVDT. High output. LVDT give high sensitivity, very good linearity, LVDT provides less friction, low hysteresis, low power consumption. These are all the advantages of LVDT. So you can see working of an LVDT. Core is moving. At that time, more flux linkage here. Then if it is moving left, the flux linkage will be reducing. So output is the difference between the two, ES1 and ES2. So here also you can see the rod is moving. Moving left. This is input. This is at one secondary. This is other secondary. This is the two are added. Now here maximum voltage. At the next instant here maximum voltage. Likewise it is varying. So displacement is converted. You can see clearly it shows the working of an LVDT. So summary, what we have learned, RTD, explains RTD in detail. RTD explained in detail. And what is RTD? RTD is nothing but it is a temperature sensor. It's a temperature sensor. It will give very accurate reading. That is the but the range is very small. So in making RTD, we are using platinum, widely using platinum. Thermistors are more, it's a range of, in the case of thermistor also, we are using for measuring temperature, but the range is very less compared to RTD. And then we discussed LVDT. LVDT is used to measure displacement. Strain gauge is used to measure force. If you are applying a force, definitely the metal length is changing. Or if length is changing, proportionally resistance will change. Load cell is used to find out huge load. To find out, suppose we want to convert huge load into electrical current. So if you have any doubt, you can put chat me. I'll answer. If you have any doubt, please chat. Please type the message and I'll respond. One important equation that you have learned in RTD is RT is equal to R0 into 1 plus alpha. ETC, positive temperature coefficient, negative temperature coefficient. In the case of if resistance is increasing, if temperature is increasing, proportionally resistance is increasing, we call it as positive temperature coefficient. If temperature is increasing, proportionally if resistance is decreasing, then we call it as negative temperature coefficient. Okay, next class will be pneumatics, based on pneumatics. Okay, thank you. I concluded. Okay, you can stop.